right, so hello everyone, good morning or good evening. This is the Filecoin Core Devs meeting number 28, today on Thursday, October 7th. And today we will have our regular slew of updates from all of the different implementation teams. And we are also joined by Bishen Mao from the IPFS Union, who at the end of this call is going to present one of the current sort of fast track FIP proposals to extend the fault sector deadline from 2 weeks to 6 weeks. So we can hear from him and his team about how that work has been progressing. That being said, we can jump in and get started. Lotus team, do you guys have any updates?
Yes, Lotus has been like super busy working on chocolatey stuff and some amazing features. So we have released 1.12.0 RC1 with Actor V6 RC1 integrated and released it to the community, I believe, like last week. And also that sets the calibration net upgrade epoch. So far as I can tell, calibration upgrade is now running chocolate smoothly since Tuesday morning in 10:15. Just like a call out that all the Fips that are under consideration, basically FIP 20 to 25, are included in this Lotus release and based on optimistic acceptance. And we will like keep them or revert them out as we have the final results of the Fips on last call. At the same time, we also released another feature release, Lotus V1.13.0. We are on RC2 right now. That has everything that needs to support in the chocolate upgrade. Along with those, we have a lot of amazing new features that we have been included in this release. Some of the highlights is we added Proof V10.0, which now minor storage providers, can now opt in like using CUDA for their like GPU computation and stuff. So far, we are testing with MinerX fellows and we are seeing great results. They are seeing at least 40 to 50% decrease of like in computation time in both like C2 and window post. I believe there are like improvements in PC2 as well, but like I can't remember clearly. And we also fix a lot of like graph sync and data transfer bugs in Lotus, and that's included in Lotus as with graph sync V010.1, and that will make a lot of like storage provider and some data broker really happy, especially S3, so that the online deal experience like is way better. We are currently like testing it. I will keep you guys posted on how it goes and see if it can benefit you all as well. We also added data transfer rate limiting in Lotus. So now storage provider can enable separate storage and retrieval transfer limit when it comes to like accepting deals and like basically queued up deals that can provide prevent their market node being DDoSed. So we think it's pretty cool. And there's a lot of other fancy things we included. You can go take a look here, and of course reach out if you have any questions.
Excellent. Any questions for Jennifer or anyone else in the Lotus team?
Not so much a question, but I just want to call out that those proofs of improvements that you're talking about sound huge. Like that's crazy. That's really, really good.
Great. And perfect. Thanks for sharing those links, Dragon and Jennifer. I can see them in the chat. And if anyone has problems accessing them, we can also include them in the notes that you can find them in GitHub afterwards as well. Awesome. All right, so we can move over then to the Forest team. Any updates from you all?
Yo. Yeah, so since last time we've solved all the 5 consensus issues, or maybe since last time. Time is very weird. And yeah, so currently we're debugging another issue that's not consensus related, where our node stops processing stuff after a while without any messages. So we have a blocking process somewhere. I think it's a deadlock, not sure. But we're looking at Rayon. I'm not sure if there's any new changes in Rayon, which is Rust parallelism library recently. Maybe somebody on the proofs team, if you guys use, I know you guys use Rayon too. I'm not sure if you guys run into issues with it. But if you have, definitely would appreciate if I could talk to you guys about that. And then in terms of more general updates, yeah, we're just, pushing towards our release that's coming up in a few weeks from now. So just still fixing some of these cargo security reports and yeah, adding the bells and whistles to things. That's it.
Sounds great. Any other questions for Eric or the Forest team?
I have a question that's probably very broad and gonna expose some of my ignorance to how you guys are currently doing. But when do you think it would be ready for Forest to get onto our bug bounty program? Because at the moment, I'm sort of redefining the scope, and we'll make a large public update for bug hunters to see. And I would like to have as many implementations that have been audited and are, I haven't fully decided whether it's going to be whether they're actively participating in mainnet or whether they're audited, but I'd like to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we'd be ready in around like a month from now after, we make our initial release and find the really stupid bugs from other people. And yeah, I think after that, we should be ready for some sort of bug bounty thing. The only, I guess, boring thing about this bug bounty is that Forest won't be participating in consensus. We won't be able to have storage miners mine on Forest because we haven't finished implementing some of the RPC endpoints for that. And that's kind of intentional because, I mean, I guess the only things we haven't really implemented on that side is some of the payment channels and the storage market stuff. And the reason for that is we haven't really been able to test block generation using Lotus as the miner and Forest as a daemon on a live network because yeah, there's just a lot of resource constraints associated with that, and there's a lot of different yeah, there's just we need to set up a game plan, I guess, for being able to test that. We know we can mine blocks on a DevNet and everything, but we're not sure about like calibration net or mainnet or anything like that yet. So yeah, we'd be ready for a bug bounty in a month, but yeah, I don't expect there to be any crazy things that people can do on Forest,
Sure. So we can discuss this next week if you and I meet, but I was just like two follow-up questions there. One of them, when you do, I'm assuming it's part of the contract. Let me know if I'm wrong. Make a miner. Is that part of the contract? Like, or the storage provider component of Forest? Is that going to?
No, we're not building a miner as of now.
Okay, cool. Is there anything, you said you hadn't implemented particular part yet. Does that part need to be audited?
I'm not sure. I mean, I would lean on saying yes, potentially. I mean, I don't really know if the payment channel mechanisms in Lotus got audited or not. But that's mainly the thing that we need to build out to support like full deal making and stuff.
Okay, thanks. Keep that in mind. Second question would be, so probably we'll have this public update to the bug bounty program end of month. And I was wondering if there's anything like any of the ongoing issues do you think would be like too obviously, like I don't want to spam you guys with issues as well. Do you think that there's anything that's like outstanding in the code that, people would just jump on that you're planning on fixing anyway?
I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I think, most of the things that we find are tracked, and some of the bigger issues that we're trying to fix right now is like, we need to fix it or else like it can't even run. So
and last question then, do you have someone or particular engineers on your team who would be like, I can contact as a DRI essentially if a bug comes in, because the bug will probably come into like centralized in the Filecoin network thing, and then I'll be reaching out to you guys like, hey, is this legit or not? Because oftentimes I don't have the Rust expertise, etc., to judge that. Do you think that you have the bandwidth for that. I don't expect to be like a flood of bugs or anything like that. The amount that we get serious per month is probably like one on Lotus.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if our team is quite small, so I don't think it makes sense to have like one particular point of contact. Like we could set up a Slack channel with our team and the foundation security team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense, but I would also prefer to have an email, like maybe a list or something like that because it makes it way easier for me to track essentially.
Sure, yeah, I can shoot you over some emails after this call.
Awesome, thanks very much.
We should also, Dudley, I can reach out to you and Eric also after this call. As of yesterday, the management of the contract for both the Forest team and the Fuhan team was transferred to me for management. So we can provide some additional like TPM support or just coordination work across teams. If that means helping to flag issues for security audits or anything else that sort of falls in this gray zone between foundation work and the implementation teams themselves. We obviously still have to figure out what this would look like and what kind of help is like most needed, if any is at all. But just to flag publicly that we can begin doing this and can provide more sort of coordinated updates in future calls as well.
Yeah, for any coordinated related things that is not, technical, you guys can always reach me out. Also for the bug bounty program, if you have any things in mind, Dudley, feel free to reach out to me. Yeah, so I'll be your main point of contact for all non-technical related stuff.
Cool, same, and I'll be yours. Sounds good, thanks, Lee. All right, any other questions for the Forest team? All right, Fuhan.
Hello, I'm instead of Maxim today. First, we have fixed most known issues with Fuhan node, fixed several bugs in GraphSync, fixed LPLD traverse, and a few more, some small bugs. Second, we have added authentication token between node miner and remote workers. Now methods can only be requested with the appropriate permissions. Third, we have started our test to test our miners. Lotus not successfully verified blocks produced by the miner. We still have a few scenarios to check out. Fourth, we continue to implement miner actor. We have already done 5 of 26 methods. In parallel, we find inaccuracies and fix them. We plan to continue to test our node with big size deals and a lot of amount of deals, both storage and retrieval. And that's all from my side.
Awesome. Is there space to ask questions here, Caitlin?
Yeah, of course, go ahead.
Is your name pronounced Artyom or Artem?
Yes.
Artyom, okay. So this is my fault, but I have been lagging on getting an external security audit for Fuhan. So would you recommend I reach out to you or Maxime to start this? Because it should probably happen soon, I'm guessing.
It's better to contact Maxim because he's a manager of our team. But for now, he's on vacation before 2022 October. After the time, you can free contact Maxim.
Okay, perfect. In that case, what I'll start doing is reaching out to auditors, getting their availability, and I think Maxim had already given me a list of auditors that they prefer, so I'll work on that. Thanks very much. In terms of bug bounty program, it will be post-audit.
Perfect. Thanks, Dudley, and thanks, Artyom. Anything else for the Fuhan team? All right. So we can switch over then to our final updates from Venus. I noticed that Stephen dropped the update in the Phil implementers channel for everyone, but it looks like he may be on the call. Stephen, are you here to give an update?
I don't think he's here.
Okay, sorry, I thought he had joined. I can give his update then. So before his team left for the Golden Holiday, they were able to make progress in the Venus Market Component first milestone delivery, which is expected to be available next week. The reward sharing implementation is also in progress, and they will have a final review of this work next week as well. In addition, they continue to work on the Venus Masters program, and although they had hoped for at least 3 applicants, they have gotten now more than 20, which is great. He's also confirmed that he's reviewed all of the Fips and the technicalities and code base changes, and that they could update or integrate all of these with only a few days' time. So it looks like there's no concern about progressing with our current last call Fips, at least for Venus. You're obviously welcome to ask questions. I won't be able to answer them, but we can make sure Stephen gets them.
Yeah, we should follow up with them offline. I know they flagged that yeah, they can get all the Fips done. We should just follow up with them. Whatever timing decisions we make in this call, we need to make sure that they are aware of.
Yep. Okay, that sounds good. All right. Any other questions for anyone on any of the implementation teams before we move on?
I just wanted to bring attention to all the changes we did in network version 14. I will change the doc and then you guys can read it on the offline, but basically all the Fips that are implemented and the major changes we introduced. I just want to share this across other teams and implementations for everybody to be aware. There's a doc here in the chat and I will share it with the notes also.
Great, thanks, Megan. Anyone else?
Jennifer seems to.
So long time no community updates from me, but one thing to call out, with K3 Filecoin Foundation, we launched a community survey to collect all your ideas, all community ideas on how we can improve protocol in the next 6 months or next 2 years. So if you have any pinpoints right now, or you have any idea how we can make Filecoin network better for distributed storage, we will be sharing the survey link in the meeting notes as well. So please join. The survey is open until October the 22nd, I believe. And we're super looking forward to hear from all of you.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. I also helped drop the survey link into the chat, so everyone's welcome to take that. It is anonymous, so if you would like to share a longer series of wish items, you're welcome to do so. And we'll also take all of the results that we get and share them publicly across the ecosystem. So definitely participate. It's already exciting to see some of the responses that have come in and some of the ideas people have. And if you have something that you've really been agitating for in terms of technical updates, this is a great spot for them. So. All right. If there are no other questions or comments, we can give the foundation updates. Dudley, do you want to go first?
Sure. So end of this month, we will probably be launching the new bug bounty program, which will have a lot of new things added to the scope. Hopefully we will get Forest and Venus repos added to that with correct URIs. Otherwise, it's just going to be a lot of libp2p and things like that. I'm currently working with people from other crypto orgs to make sure that we have the right people as DRIs for example, Rust libp2p, which is, I think, originally coded by Parity, but now I think it's PL, so it should be easier. That is relative to implementers about it. We do have some other things brewing, but they are not something I want to say just yet in case I get, responsibility.
Understandable. Thanks, Dudley. In terms of Fips and governance, So as mentioned, we are working to sort of reorganize our internal management of different implementation contracts, only for the purpose of making sure there's like a clear point of contact, which again, for the Forest and Fuhan teams going forward will be me. If you need any sort of management support or have any questions about the execution of deliverables, et cetera, I can help make sure that those get answered for you. We'll reach out and schedule sort of one-on-one calls between our team and yours to see what is needed. I think Dragon is also doing some of this work, some of the other teams, and the goal is that we can just have stronger resources for ensuring that any kind of collaborative work outside of the direct implementation technicality and technical builds, that there is someone who can help facilitate this. I know we've been thinking a lot about what to do when we have really large scale code base changes for future Fips. Snap deals might be a good example. It's a pretty large change, and making sure that we have sort of people infrastructure available to help facilitate and plan for these changes is sort of our longer term goal. So if you have any questions or ideas for this, let us know. I think in terms of everyone's day-to-day work, it's not really going to be much of a change. It's just more of a support system that's more clearly defined should you need it. So that's there. And additionally, we did create a small little Fips tracker that's now available on GitHub. It's under the project section of the Fips repo. So I don't expect many of you are frequently poking around in there unless you have an active FIP draft that you're stewarding. But if you are, or if you ever have any questions and you don't want to reach out to me and ask, you're welcome to go here and you can see where all of the Fips currently live, all of their statuses. For final FIP drafts, you have links to all of the actual drafts as well as the community discussions around them. And we also have a place for all of our current work in progress and last call Fips as well, which I think is the real value add here. So aside from this, we have a couple of other updates that are going to be coming. We're opening up a discussions tab to help reorganize the way information is currently organized in the repo. And we'll also have some sort of procedural changes coming down the line. But when those happen, you guys will obviously get plenty of updates and plenty of points of reference for them. And again, it's more of a sort of a managerial thing, and I don't really expect it to impact your work too much.
It's a great visualization though. Like I think this information just wasn't really captured anywhere, and it's really cool to just see it. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks. Yeah. I realized I was keeping this internally for my own reference and was going to it constantly, so it makes sense that it's public. Another little nitpicky thing is on the README, we lost our old Fips table, which tracks where everything is in their statuses. There was an attempt to make a Fips website, which does exist, but we don't have like a clear use case for it at the moment. And one of the casualties of the auto build was that we lost our table since it now renders directly on this website. So I'm trying to rebuild this, but it's not as simple as just like creating a table on the README. So hopefully you'll have that too. And you can go back to using that as a quick reference if you need it. All right, any questions? No. All right, so then what we can do is turn it over to Bishen. I hope I'm saying your name okay. Bishen is from IPFS Union, and he has been the one who's been really proactive in pushing forward this proposal to assist in the current moment storage providers in China who are affected by current slate of regulations about their ability to provide storage in China. And the current proposal is to help assist their transfer of data by increasing the CC sector fault period from 2 to 6 weeks. So Bishen, if you want to give us sort of a technical overview of the proposal, and then we could talk about some of the specifics related to timelines and implementations.
Yeah, hello everyone. Nice to meet you. I'd like to have introduced myself first. My name is Bishen, and I'm the CTO of IPFS Union. IPFS Union is one of the most biggest storage service provider in global, and we have near 1 EB storage power in current Filecoin network. And we have a proposal extend the CC sector for the period from 2 weeks to 6 weeks. And my colleague, Alicia Lee, will have to present the proposal today. Hello, Alicia.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep, you sound good.
Hi everyone, I'm Alicia and I'm from IPFS Union. It's great to talk to you all here. Let me first share my screen here.
Oh, sorry, you might need permission. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. So I think maybe some of you have already looked over the FIP draft we posted on GitHub. It's about the extension for period of sector from 2 weeks to a prolonged 6 weeks. The reason why we brought up this proposal is because currently we are facing a huge change in the policies regarding mining activities undertaken in the mainland China. Because on September 24th, 11 departments of Chinese government jointly issued a notice of rectification of virtual currency mining within the territory of China. And some strict measures included in that notice that may affect Filecoin miners in China include, but not limited to, like forbidding any new mining related projects undertaken even in the name of IDCs, or supervising abnormal power usage, classifying mining activities to the obsolete in industry, and urging the acceleration of exit of all mining related projects. Although we all know that the essential consensus of Filecoin is not about mining, the economic model is just designed for incentive scheme to encourage storage providers, not to mention the energy consumption is relatively low, but the determination of the government to crack down domestic mining related projects can be easily sensed from the measures I mentioned above. And whether there will be even stricter policies in the future is yet to know. So now our company is considering to migrate our business overseas. And I think such force majeure events, including like natural disasters and other social abnormalities, may be confronted by any organization in the world. So the proposal is not just for us, but also for, or I think, all storage providers in the same situation in this community to plan in advance as to how to deal with the potential risks in the future. So according to the current protocol, the sector will be forcibly terminated if there are 2 consecutive weeks of force. So however, like 2 weeks are far from enough for large storage providers like us to complete a long distance and EB level data migration, and failure to complete the process and to restart storage service in time will not only cause huge economic losses to the storage providers themselves, but also cause fluctuations in the storage power of the entire Filecoin network. So therefore, we are here to propose to prolong the sector forward period from 2 weeks to 6 weeks. We believe such adjustment will satisfy the basic time requirements for the migration of storage servers abroad, and also without undermining the security of the whole network. But we also have to discuss some detailed, sort out some detailed issues in association with this proposal. So here we have 3 questions we would like to discuss with all of you today. The first one is like whether we should incorporate the extension of forward period in this network upgrade. To be honest, like from our perspective, the situation is quite urgent currently. So we really hope to incorporate this adjustment in this upgrade, but we are open to hear your share of opinions here. I saw Jennifer has raised your hand.
Oh, sorry. I just have one quick thing to add later, but like you can go ahead, finish your thing before.
Right. Okay. So we are open to like hear your share of opinions on this subject. And the second one is about whether to upgrade only CC sectors or to upgrade all sectors as a whole, because we know that upgrade whole sectors maybe is the fastest implementation way, but in terms of the clients, they obviously hope the fourth period of their sectors is as short as possible. So maybe we should distinguish the fourth periods for their sectors and the CC sectors. So we would like to hear your opinions on this subject as well. As to the last one, I think it's not a very urgent one, but we would like to hear your opinions. But we don't need to like draw quick conclusions today, because I think it's a very delicate question that may have a huge impact to the whole network. So maybe we can come up with a new fee structure after scrupulous researches and demonstrations in the future. So yeah, so I think that's all for my presentation, and we would like to hear your thoughts on these three questions here. Yeah, I will leave to Jennifer here.
Thank you. First of all, like, thank you so much for giving us all the background and presenting the FIP. And like, I feel like this FIP discussion has a lot of like community engagement, like participation, which is like great. I'm glad we're talking about it. And like, thank you for all the initiative you're taking. I just have one question before the discussion items here. Is like, could you please like share a little bit more like why you think why you propose to extend it to 6 weeks? Is there any like certain calculation or measurement like went into this like value? Like why it's not 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or like 8 weeks?
I think we have like determined this time period according to you know, sought for calculations, but I think maybe I will leave it to, you know, my colleagues here, because I'm not very specialized in technical issues here. So I think maybe Milo. Is Milo here? Sorry.
It looks like Milo's on the call. Milo, if you can hear us, you are muted. That might be why.
Right. I think maybe he's not available here. Yeah, we really calculated the time period in total, in taking into consideration of the, you know, the root time, and also like to implementation time, and also like we need time to adjust the storage server when it reaches the foreign territory to the best condition. So, or time considered, like I think maybe 6 weeks is the best time period for a most suitable time period for the, you know, the migration. Yeah.
I suppose on the other hand, Jennifer, I don't know if you or anyone else is aware of, and it looks like Eric was asking this too. Do you know why 2 weeks was originally settled on for the CC fault sectors?
Not really. Maybe, I don't know, Nicola or CX can chime in here.
Hey, can you repeat your question?
Sure. Do you know why with the window post, like the fault sector penalty period, why that was originally scheduled for 2 weeks in length? Is there a reason, or is it sort of just an arbitrary benchmark?
The 14 days has to do with the quality of service that we want to provide to data. So for example, at the very beginning was 7 days, and then we thought it was too strict, and miners, it's okay for miners to have a 7-day downtime. and then we moved it to 14. And what does that time really means? This means that someone could delete a file for 13 consecutive days, and then get it back and do this for almost forever. And we still think that that's okay for a Filecoin storage provider to have the file once every 14 days. By extending this to a longer period, we're saying that you're storing the file once every 30 days, at the very least. Now, no miner wants to do this this type of storage because it doesn't give you block rewards. So what I'm trying to say is that if you do not take into account crypto economics, then the file is guaranteed to be stored once every 30 days. If you take into account crypto economics, the file is guaranteed basically every day. It's mostly for the fees. And you can see that even if we make the period larger to 30 days, it's very, very unlikely for a miner to decide to go offline for 30 days. And because it's going to be very expensive. And generally not rational unless you have to do this for survival purposes or catastrophic events. So I think it makes sense to extend it in this scenario.
Yeah, that's a good segue for me to just kind of share that, like, yeah, I think that's generally why I'm okay with this proposal. I wouldn't say that I'm in favor of it, or but I think it's fine because, yeah, kind of as Nicola was saying, obviously the primary concern is about the actual storage that storage providers are performing for clients and for the network. As Nicola was saying, there's kind of two things locking them in place. The protocol itself, which is what is changed by this 14 to 42 day number. And then there's kind of real world crypto economic factors that keep them in place. I think the crypto economic factors are strong enough that, as Nicola was saying, no one's going to abuse this change from 14 to 42 days. There is a bit of a weird thing here where 42 days is a long time, given that the minimum sector duration and minimum deal duration is 6 months, 180 days. So 42 out of 180 days is a long period. But as again, I think there's enough real world factors that will prevent us from being abused, that what the protocol itself does, it doesn't matter too much, in my opinion. That is also why I think to addressing these three questions, the third question is, like as you said, is not something we want to be opening now, because then you start to actually question the guarantees in the model itself. So that feels like a much bigger change to me. Changing 2 weeks to 6 weeks seems fine.
Yeah, thank you for your opinion. To me, we also think like the first and the second question is more important than the third one, because we need more analysis on this one. And so it's acceptable for us to pay the penalties as usual for this time, but we also like to admit we also have to admit that the current 6-week penalty is relatively too high, which is equivalent to about half a year's block rewards in total. So maybe we can discuss it about later to come up with a new fee structure in the future. Yeah.
Alicia, I agree with Ayush that this is something that is quite sensitive and would require quite a bit of additional research. So what your team could do is make sure that references to the actual fee calculation is removed from this draft. I know that some of the reviewers had called attention to that language and asked that it be removed since it hadn't yet been discussed. And you could begin another FIP process to propose any changes. You could start with just a discussion and open an issues in the GitHub repo, and we could begin to take a look at it with your team. But again, I agree that I think that's a separate issue from the more immediate need to potentially change the sector period for faults.
Okay, totally agree. Thank you. I think Stephen has a hand here, maybe.
Yeah. So, sorry, my Stephen or some other Stephen? Okay, me Stephen. Got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one thing I want to challenge is that you said that this power disappearing would be a problem. I just want to note that when the sector goes faulty, the power will disappear at that point. So regardless of this change, the power will disappear, and that could be a problem for the network. There's the other thing I want to note is that I actually consider 2 weeks to be a bit too much. Like just from a user perspective, like I'm trying to choose the system, regardless what the incentives are. If like I'm picking the system and I say, wow, like this miner can like not store my data for like more than 2 weeks or like 3 months, and then like this deal still remains active, that would be a bit of a turn off for me. Maybe we can like work on the language here to make it very clear to the users that, hey, like this is not rational. No miner is going to do this unless they have no absolutely no other choice. But that's a bit of a concern for me. I also just want to note, like, I want to make sure you've read my comments on the FIP discussion about how there are better ways to migrate than just stop mining. Stopping mining actually will cost more than 3.5 BR per day. It'll cost 4.5 because you'll lose your block reward basically. Or like it's not just the penalty, it's the lost opportunity cost. And in many, like as long as you have enough time to keep your old setup running while you move a new setup, or basically while you copy your data over, like you can literally just duplicate an entire storage setup for probably less than it would cost to shut down mining. Those are my comments.
Okay, theoretically, I think I agree with you, but I think there are also two questions to take into consideration. The first one is like to copy and to duplicate a large scale data in a relatively is very time consuming, and also to acquire a large number of hardwares in a relatively short time. Maybe it's not very practical. So I think maybe theoretically I agree with you, but we also need to take into some real life, considerations into this question, maybe.
Yeah, it depends on what your time window is, because like you don't have to duplicate all of your hardware. You can duplicate like 10% as long as you're willing to spend a bit more time at it. Basically, you just duplicate 10% of your hardware, copy 10%, move that, copy the next 10%, move that, etc. Actually copying the data doesn't really scale based on the amount of data you have, because well, it scales based on the number of people you can throw at it, because you can just parallelize that. But yeah, the limiting factor is probably going to be acquiring hardware, honestly.
Yeah, indeed, I agree with you on that. Yeah, we will consider it. Yeah.
I do want to tackle the two questions that we have up here. So will it be implemented in the V14 network upgrade for Lotus at least? We can certainly implement this change if we're all on board with it. We actually did implement it kind of optimistically for what we've been testing as our RCs right now. So it's a one-line code change, so the implementation cost is not significant here. Maybe can we quickly get opinions from the other implementations on that? Like, I assume it's the same, yeah. Whether to upgrade only CC sectors, I think that's going to be a no, unfortunately, for two reasons. For me, at least personally, I don't want to start differentiating how we treat CC sectors from deal sectors almost from a like I don't think that conceptually that difference doesn't. I don't think that's a good idea, and I don't like it. But also, I think there might just be a practical concern to it that maybe Zen or Steb could speak to.
Yeah, I mean, the practical concern there is just that it will slip the timeline. So the answer to question one becomes no if we want to differentiate in question two. I guess I'll also add on that, I mean, there's something nice about also providing the disaster relief kind of service that this FIP gives to sectors with deals in them. We kind of established through conversation that there's this rationality guarantee that people are not going to throw away these sectors because of all the fees that are paid when you try to come back on, or even go away and then come back. So like we get these rationality guarantees for the deal sectors as well. So this FIP doesn't seem to be too disruptive to the model, at least from my perspective.
I also want to note that nothing is set in stone. So even if the FIP passes, we can always come in later and say, okay, we need some escape hatch so that someone with a deal can kind of like cancel their deal if it's faulty for some amount of time. And I don't think there's going to be any pushback against that. I'm also not in the camp, or I would like to not differentiate between CC deals and non-CC deals, just because that adds a significant incentive to not make real deals. Because like then like basically if you have deals in your sectors, you're now held to this higher standard. So it's an incentive to just not store real data, which I don't like.
Do you raise a hand?
Yeah, it's a bit of an important flag I want to raise, but if there's more on the immediate thread, we can, if anyone else has anything on the immediate thread, we can do that first. Okay, I do want to flag one important thing here, which is that this FIP obviously is only going to kick in when the chocolate upgrade happens on mainnet, right? Assuming we accept it. That the ramification of that means that any sectors that go faulty before, we do have to talk about the date, but October 26th is what we've been talking about. Any sectors that go faulty before October 26th will still be subject to the 14-day expiration. So the change will only apply to sectors that go faulty after the chocolate upgrade. So that basically means you have to keep things going until you have to keep your sectors active until mainnet itself upgrades. So just because we accept this, that doesn't mean that if your sector goes faulty tomorrow, that's still going to be subject to the 14-day thing. If your sector goes faulty on October 24th, that's still going to expire 14 days later. The change in behavior will only kick in after mainnet upgrades. And I think that's really important to flag for the immediate concerns.
Okay, I understand now. Yeah, thank you.
So I think these are all really great and very concise points, which is appreciated. For the sake of time, what it really sounds like is the 2 second questions that are raised are sort of outside the scope of this immediate proposal. So it sounds like if the IPFS union team wants to continue the conversation about window post penalty fees, they can start that in a separate thread unrelated to this immediate proposal. But since it's relatively easy to implement this and there's been a lot of support publicly for it, if there are no technical or crypto economic concerns resulting from this meeting now, we would move to accept this next Monday as well, October 11th, and implement it in the chocolate upgrade. Just across the board, are there any sort of hesitations or concerns about doing that?
So just like one small questions, like going back to my first question is like why 6 weeks, and the Bishan has shared the reason saying that to get hard drives like ships like via ferry or whatever transportation, it's gonna take about like 4 to 6 weeks to complete the full migration. My question here is like, that being said, how are we gonna decide as a community if we should settle on 4 weeks or 6 weeks? Because like, is there any client consideration or product consideration we should take in before settle down on the final number?
That's a really good question. I think for the most part, yeah, like I'm thinking of it from a product perspective, I don't think there's that much difference between 4 to 6 weeks, because as we keep stressing, this is only going to be taken advantage of in very unusual situations. So I don't expect like that this is going to become, you know, du jour at all. So I don't think it matters too much. And you know, if we are doing this for the specific purpose that we have right now and trying to like migrate these hard drives, then we might as well play it safe, right? Like the worst thing would be if we pick 4 weeks and it ends up taking 4 weeks and 2 days, and so it kind of did not serve its purpose. So my inclination would be to just go with 6 weeks, but I don't feel too strongly about this.
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense to me.
I mean, so in that case, I think it makes sense to actually do like very thorough crypto economic analysis and product analysis to see what's the maximum that we could actually put this number to that does not break product concerns and crypto economic concerns. Because it's like you said, it's like it could take 6 weeks and 2 days. So we might as well, at this point, do analysis to see what's the longest feasible time that we can extend this to.
Yeah, there's definitely far too much like hand waving with with this proposal and just kind of being arbitrary. Some of which is specific to the FIP, and some of which was, you know, the number that we're changing to start with. I just don't think we have the time for too much more than going. 6 weeks sounds like a number. I was thinking 5 weeks. The FIP was open for 6 weeks. Like, that works too. Yeah.
Stephen has a hand.
Yeah, do feel free to jump in. Yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, I wanted to also note that at the moment, if you, let's see, if a sector is faulty and it terminates, if it terminates because it would otherwise terminate, you don't pay the termination fee. If it terminates because it's terminating early, you pay the termination fee. In this case, this significantly increases that window. The reason we had or made this choice originally was that, like, we didn't want to make it so that, like, if your sector went faulty the day before it's supposed to end, you would just like pay like the entire termination fee, even though it was only faulty for 1 day. However, like if it's faulty for like 40 days and then it terminates, that really should pay the early termination fee. So that is a bit of a concern there. Did we fix this or not?
No, you still don't pay if you fault for however many.
Okay. Yeah, it would be really nice if we could fix that, but I don't know how difficult it is.
Yeah, sounds like I don't think that's happening in V14, but that could, like, if we do want to keep this change around long term, that sounds like something we could do. It also sounds like it should just be a sliding thing, right? Like your early termination fee should be a factor of how long you've been faulty for. So
well, so the early termination fee is actually it's a factor of how long you've been not faulty for, really. It's how long the sector has been alive, because it's proportional to the amount of awards you've gotten from it. It's basically saying, hey, you agreed to store this thing for this amount of time, you failed to store it for this amount of time, therefore all the rewards you got from it are no longer yours. That's the idea.
Yeah. But that sounds like a future change for sure.
Okay.
But sounds valuable, like someone open a FIP. Let's start a discussion.
So the central trade-off, obviously, for this FIP is like time versus quality. And there is no good trade-off in that compromise, right? Because you obviously don't want to sacrifice one for the other. I think it was Stephen's point earlier that there is a possibility of amending FIPs in the future, right? So you can just put another FIP forward to make adjustments, and it's happened in the past. To Eric's point, I think it's a good one, right? Like, you would want to be certain about the actual length of time that you could allow somebody to be faulty, right, in submitting their proofs, to provide like the greatest possible clarity, because if rationally they're not going to do this unless they need it, they obviously should be able to do that if necessary. But again, we won't be able to do that before Monday, which is when this is slated to pass. So the option then is to withhold this and potentially upgrade much later, or we can push it forward and keep it on its current acceptance timeline, which again is October 11th. And we can still do that type of analysis to potentially amend in the future. So just another option.
Okay, cool. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
Stephen, is this a new hand or a hand from before? Okay. Yeah, Jennifer's comment in the chat is appropriate. So we are at time and have to make a decision about this. It does sound like there are some like lingering questions and hesitations about this, but none which are actual concerns for the implementation of this. I would probably recommend that we move forward with accepting this on Monday with all of the other last call FIPs, so that we can get this put in place. It sounds like there are a few quick changes we'd like to make to the draft. One noting that this is not rational behavior and should only be used in emergency circumstances. And the other being that sectors that fall within that happen to go faulty before the implementation is actually included in the upgrade will continue to be subject to that 14-day initial period. and not the extended 6-week period. So we can make sure those changes go in quickly. But otherwise, it sounds as if on Monday, this will proceed with the others.
Okay, cool. I think I've heard our opinions from all of you, and we will have further discussion in our team as well. And we will look forward to the Monday proposal time. Thank you all for your time tonight. And I think maybe it's time to end my session here.
Great. And I'll follow up with you in Slack, Alicia. It would be great if we could have a copy of these slides also for our meeting notes.
Okay, I will. Yeah, maybe I can drop it in the chat bar.
Yep, that'd be great.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everyone. And if you continue to have questions, please feel free to raise them publicly and we can address them as quickly as possible. But otherwise, thanks so much for all of your time and really great input on this. It's been complicated to move this so quickly through this process. And again, we wouldn't be able to do that without everyone's input and guidance.
Just one last quick note of like FIP 20 to FIP 25 are now, including FIP 26, are now in last call, and the last call end date is like October the 11th. Like raise any concerns before then. Otherwise, I guess we will move forward and has a chocolatey upgrade around October 26th.
Yep. And if you want to see any of the FIPs that are currently in last call, like Jennifer mentioned, 22, 25, 26, there are also 20, 21, and 23. Those are also in that tracker, and all of the links are in GitHub. But these are all proposals that we previously discussed as well. So there shouldn't be anything hidden in there that you haven't encountered before. All right. All right, again, thanks so much, everyone. And again, feel free to follow up offline if you need anything else or have any follow-up questions or concerns.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.